Hey folks, welcome to the Blue Line CNC live stream. We'll be getting started in just a few minutes. This is the part of the broadcast where we allow YouTube to get their engines fired up and put out broadcast notification to channel viewers such as yourselves that will be going live. We have just under 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go, so go grab yourself something to drink and relax. The show is about to start. Welcome everybody to this second installment of my live stream, the official Blue Line CNC live stream. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Russ Tyndall, and again, welcome. I'm trying a different resolution. No, I take that back. I was going to try 480 because I had some issues with the video glitching last time when I looked at it on replay. But I decided to go ahead and stick with the 720p just to see what it looks like. So if you do see some weird stuff, again, I'm on the Starlink system. That could have something to do with it. It could be trying to latch on to a different satellite as those things are moving overhead. But if you see some hiccups in it, let me know in the comments. I'd really like to know if you see some rooms for improvement in this live stream. Again, sound off. I'd really like to know where I can improve, because the stream is for you as much as it is for me. My intent here is for all learn from one another. If you saw last week, or excuse me, 2 weeks ago when I put the first stream out, we went over how I use VCarvePro to create a basic American flag with the stars and the stripes. And if you have any questions regarding that live stream, go ahead and put them in the comments and we'll talk about that. I'm going to get to the comments here in a second. But tonight's stream, we're going to be discussing, in particular, using Adobe Illustrator and how we integrate something we create in Adobe Illustrator into VCarvePro. And if you don't know what Adobe Illustrator is, very simply, it is a vector-based editing software suite. It's a paid software. It's not free, but you can go to Adobe and you can download a free copy. I think they give you 30 days to try it out. And if you like it, you could buy it on their cloud. It's a subscription based. And they have a whole bunch of other products like Photoshop and InDesign. And then there's Premiere Pro for video editing. And you can pick and choose what you want. And depending on how much you add, that of course raises the price of what you're going to pay with Adobe. But I think you can buy it just solely Illustrator if that's the only thing that you want to do. And by all means, you don't have to use Adobe Illustrator for what I'm going to show you tonight. There's other solutions out there that you can use. A couple free ones come to mind. Vector, and that's spelled VECTR, and then also Inkscape is another free one, and feel free to give those a try. I don't know what the learning curve is on those. I can tell you that the learning curve on Adobe Illustrator is a little high. You'll have to spend a little time if you've never used it before to sit down and use it. And I'm going to show you some tricks tonight, but you'll still need to play with it a little bit. And then there's another one of the paid versions that come to mind, or one of the paid software suites that come to mind is CorelDRAW. And that is about on level with Adobe as far as its capabilities and what it can do. So that's what we're going to do tonight. And then in the coming weeks, I don't know if it's going to be next week or the week after that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take what we do tonight and we're going to toolpath everything what we create, and we're going to create toolpaths, and we're going to take a deep dive into the milling bits that are necessary to cut this flag out on a CNC machine. So with that, let me go up to the comments and see if there are any. If there's some new ones since I last looked at it. Mark, good evening to you, sir. Dan Goris, good evening. And Dave, nice to have you here. Dave Kraus, John Thompson, welcome, sir. And I keep freezing. Am I still freezing? Be sure to let me know how that's going. I'm hoping I am not freezing, and then it's not going to be a problem for tonight's video. But again, let me know in the comments if it is. Let's see what we can go with here. Okay, but getting down to the nuts and bolts, I'm going to do a demo. And then if you have any questions throughout the demonstration, go ahead and put them in there. And when we get to the end of the demo, we'll come back to comments before we close out the evening. So let's see here if I can pull up my file. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to share a screen with y'all. Bear with me for a second while I pull it up. Okay. All right, so this is the starting screen of Adobe Illustrator, and you can see, if you can see my mouse moving around here, these are just a whole bunch of files that I worked on recently. So what, excuse me. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to open up a new file to play with here. I'm just going to simply go to my open, and it's on my desktop, and it is the Abilene. Let me see if I can see it here. There it is, Abilene Police Department. And if you know where Abilene is, it's in Abilene, Texas. I've got a niece that lives there, and I decided to do a patch for her or for the police department there, just to have a graphic. And I'm going to use it as an example for tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. And you can see what it does is it opens in Adobe Illustrator. So the first thing that we need to do, and this is a raster graphic. If you know what a raster graphic, it's made of pixels. It's usually like a JPEG or a PNG. And if you blow it up, it starts to get pixelated and it gets blurry. What a vector graphic is it allows you to blow it up no matter what size you want to use, and it maintains its resolution. You can be as small as you want, or you can be as big as you want, and it'll still keep the same resolution. So that's the advantage of a vector. So what we're going to try to do here is we're going to create a vector out of this raster graphic. Now there is ways of doing it with the it's like a bitmap trace in VCarve, but it doesn't work as good. It doesn't produce the results that I am looking for when I create my graphics. I like my graphics to be crisp and sharp, and I know what I need to do to achieve that goal, and that's to do them manually. Yeah, so let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit on this one here, and I'm just going to select it. Now, my objective isn't to teach you all the nuances of Adobe Illustrator. That would take me too long. So bear with me as I just kind of go through this. But if you have any questions, again, put them in the comments, and we're gonna go through that. We're gonna go through a complete Q&A towards the end of tonight. So we're gonna select the graphic. I'm just gonna click on it, and what I want to do is I want to lower the opacity down so I can do a trace on it. So I'm right up here in the top on the opacity. I think I just put it about 56%. That looks good to me. Maybe a little bit lower. That looks pretty good. So now what I want to do is I want to lock that layer. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click on the layers, and I'm just going to put a little, and you see that little lock symbol that popped up? That just means I locked it. Now I can't accidentally click in here and move this around or do something with it. So now that I have that layer locked, I'm going to use that as my my artwork layer, my tracing layer. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to create a new layer. This is all layer based. This is like Photoshop. You create layer upon layer upon layer. And it just makes things easier. And even like, as you all know, that if you're familiar with the Vectric products, they're layer based as well, if you choose to use the layers. So we're going to go into this second layer, and I think what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to create the border for this layer. That's going to be layer number 1. Now, before I do that, I want to have some guides to follow. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to go View. I'm going to show my rulers, and that creates rulers on the top and the bottom. And I'm going to grab a guide, and that's just clicking with my left mouse button and dragging on there. You can see what that did. It brought a vertical guide. And I want to get that guide almost perfectly on that V, where this V would be, the perfect halfway point between this patch. And this is going to make a lot of sense here in a second. Whoops. Okay. So I've got my guide layer. I don't need to create any more guides other than this one vertical guide. So I'm going to go ahead and lock that layer. That's my guide layer. And I'm going to create one more layer. And this is going to be the border layer. And if you want to name these, you can do that. It makes it easier when you name your layers. So when you're going through and you're doing additional editing, or you're going back to correct something, you know what layer to go to. So I'm going to call this border layer. Now, the other two are locked, so we can't mess with those accidentally. So I am going to get where's my window of tools here? Let's see, where did they all go? Symbols, transform. Oh, what the heck? No, that doesn't belong there. That belongs over here. That belongs there. Bear with me while I get some of these. You know what I think I need to do? Let's go to workspace. Arrange. Why aren't they? All right, guys, hang on. Whoops. Okay, we're getting something over here. I just had some of my tools that I need disappear on me that I had to bring back. That's all. So we're going to come up here and we're going to grab, this is where we're at. We're on our third layer. And actually, it just moved it up here. We want to use our pen layer, our curvature tool. And that's what we're going to use to create our border. So here's a trick for you. So you don't have to create this whole border. And it also aids in maintaining symmetry in your design, is design half of it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy that half and we're going to mirror the half that we create, and then we're going to join them together so those two become one and there's perfect symmetry between the two. So this is how we do that. So right about here is about the middle point of that stripe. And then I'm just clicking in that border, and you get the idea. That was a double click right here, just so I can get a. And then we're going to come down here. Whoops. Go Control Z on that. I want it up a little bit higher here. And we're just creating our outline with this curvature tool. Whoops. Control Z. And I want to end on that guide, because remember that guide is our halfway point. There. Now I'm going to hit the escape button. So I have one half of this, and there is a little correction we need to make right here. I'm going to click on that. Let's zoom in. And let's go up with it a little bit. And we're going to grab this handle. And you see that little pink line that appeared? That means we're on the horizontal there. So we're going to come out. And I know I'm probably going fast for a lot of the Illustrator novices, and I'm not going to go through this whole patch design. It would take too long to go through everything here. I just wanted to show you the basics on some of this stuff. So we're going to grab our selection tool, which is this top arrow, and we're going to create. Let's go ahead and give that that line a color. Right there, let's give it a black stroke. And I think 1 point is good enough for now, just while we're in the design stages of it. And let's Control C to copy, just like all your other Windows command. And then we're going to go, this is, if you know the keyboard shortcuts, it's going to save you time on this stuff, just like any other software that you get to learn. The keyboard shortcuts are a lifesaver. We're going to go Shift Control C, which is paste in place. And then we can go up here to Object, Transform, Reflect, or we can just merely select it and go right click with our mouse, Transform, Reflect. And that reflected it, but it didn't do it from the copy. So it tells me I did something wrong. Control C, Shift Control V, right click, Transform, Reflect. Okay, there we go. Now we got them both. So now what I want to do is I want to grab that one we just created, and I'm going to go ahead and put it to the right and get it aligned to the best as I can. We're just going to drag it over there, and you can excuse my voice. I seem to be losing it tonight. We're just going to drag it over until it joins up. And you can even zoom in maximum if you have to. That's just by pressing the Alt key on your keyboard and using the scroll wheel on your mouse. That will get you zoomed in. That's the fast way of doing it. Now I go to the Direct Select tool, which is right here below the selection tool. And I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to select. There's actually two points. We're going to select them both. Right click and hit join. And that joined them into one. But it's still not one complete path. Now remember, in Illustrator, they're called paths, and in VCarve they're called vectors, but they're the same thing. So we're going to come down here, and we're going to hold down Alt. We're going to use our mouse key and zoom in. We're going to come down here, and we're going to create a box around that with our left mouse button. Right click, join. So we've joined that vector. Now, as you can tell, we could probably fix this up a little bit in some of these areas. And we could have paid a little more attention when we did this in the beginning to avoid this later on, because we do want our border to be symmetrical and we want it to look exactly like what we're trying to create. So let's go ahead and using our direct selection tool, let's create this or select this whole path right now. And we want to increase the weight of the stroke because the outside border of this patch is a lot wider than 1 point. So we're going to just using our weight selector on this stroke, we're going to try to match what's there below it. And what do we have? About 13. That looks pretty good right there. Now, you can see that there's another border right in here, an interior border. I'm not going to go ahead and bother doing that. I've just shown you this border, but the procedures would be the same for doing this second one. And then creating the, let's go ahead and jump to the star. Now you can tell if we just create a star, if we go to the star tool, which is buried under the shape tool here, and we click on it and hold the left mouse button, you can see there's a star tool. So, but like Vectric, we need to know some certain measurements because this star is not a perfect star. You can see it kind of angles from like this point in, it goes up a little bit. And from here, it goes down a little bit. So it's not a perfect star. So if we were to hold Shift Alt and try to create a star, let's knock that point back down to 1. And then use our selection tool. You can see what's going on if we were to make that bigger. And then I can come over here while I'm holding my Shift button down. This is what I'm talking about. It comes to a point here, but it's slanting upwards here. So we've got to do something different with this star. And there's a quick way of doing that. There's a ruler function. And that is, last time I checked, it's not the eyedropper. Where did I have that before? Is it under my magnifying glass? No. You can always go to Illustrator Help and just type ruler. Scale tool. No. Bear with me. I lost my my setup here when we started the stream, and I don't see where it is in here. Anyway, if you go to your star tool, and I know this from before when I created this patch, and you just go to the center and you click on here, you get an you have a pop-up box that allows you to select your radiuses for your inner radius and your outer radius. And you can tell radius 2, it's the smaller of the two numbers. That's your inner radius, and radius 1 is going to be your big radius for your star. And on my star for this, I knew that the larger of the tool is going to be 1.2408. And I apologize, I don't have that ruler tool up. I really wanted to show it to you. And again, live stream luck would have me screwing up. Oh well, that's live TV, I guess, or live stream. So if it's going to happen, it's bound to happen, my friends. So radius 2, my measurement is 0.7222, and it is a 5-pointed star. So I'm just going to hit OK. Oh, that's not right. No, that is not. Did that look right? No, that's not right, guys. No, I got to show you this measurement. Let's try it under, because that's the way to use it. Measure tool. Okay, there we go. So we're going to click on this measure tool, and to get our outer measurement, we're just going to go to the center of the star and click, and then we're going to go all the way out to the outside here, and we're going to click, and you can see the distance right here is 2.0457. So I'm going to write that down, 2.0457. And the distance between the inner, I'm going to go back to the center, or as close to it as I can get, click, and then come up here and click, and that's 0.84. Is that 02 or 80? 0.8482. My vision's getting bad. Okay. Now we can come up to our star. Let's close that. We don't need it. And let's click here and get these the star dimensions correct. So this looks right. 2.0457. And then radius 2 is 0.8482. There we go. That's looking more like it. So we're going to come up here with our direct selection tool. We're going to grab the star, and we're just going to position it where we want, so it's over the existing star. Again, using our guideline to position it properly, and then we can use our arrow keys on our keyboard to get it on where we want it vertically. And that looks good right about there. And you can tell that this star has some lines. So using our pen tool, not the curvature tool, but our pen tool allows us to create straight lines. We're just going to click, and then we're going to come down here and join it with that point. Same thing here. Oops, I could have clicked on the point there. Click there. And we're just going to systematically go through and complete this star as it should be completed. And one thing I didn't do, I'm going to grab this point right here and drag it up to there. Now, there's no sense in joining these points together because they're not going to be able to, you can't take one vector or one path and join it to another path unless they're open at the ends. And the star is already closed. It's a closed path, so we can't take another path and try to join into it. Illustrator won't allow us to do that. But that's fine. We don't need it that way. And when we import this into VCarve, it just looks at it as all as individual vectors, and like it typically does. So that's how you do the star. Now, I'm not going to go through each individual piece. When I created the original patch on this, and I'm going to show you that patch here in a few minutes, I created one petal here. If this is like a wheat, I would call it like a wheat wreath. something like that. I don't know what the proper terminology for this piece of artwork is here that surrounds this star. Maybe some of you would know what that's called. I would just call it a wreath. But I zoomed in on just this lower one down here. And when I grab my curvature tool, it's just a matter of going through here. And again, you can put these on different layers. So you're not like your star could be on a layer. These could be on another layer, just to keep everything straight when you're doing your design work. And again, I want this to be 1 point for the design. And it's just a matter of playing around with this curvature tool until you get comfortable with it. And just always remember, you can hit Control Z to erase your last mistake and redo it to get it perfect the way you want it. And then right here looks about where we want it. We'll double click there, and then that creates a stationary point. And then now we're not gonna come all the way up to that, because if we did, we would get some wonky stuff happening. But we're gonna go back to our direct selection tool. Let's zoom in here. Okay, and let's join that. And let's see what we got here. I'm going to click on this point. And you can see this is a pretty powerful editing suite. I mean, you can get down to the point and you can select these individual points, and you can, whoops, it's pretty touchy, and get into the individual node editing, so to speak. I would call it similar to node editing in Vectric. I'm going to get in a little tighter here to where I can pull this one out. Yeah, actually, that looks good about there. So we can drag this one out to where it looks a little better. And it's just a matter of playing around with it. But anyway, you get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and select this whole thing. I don't like this sharp corner right here, so I'm going to select it. And I'm going to come over here. If you look over here under stroke, and this is really pretty cool. You just like click on window, and if your stroke window is not open, you just go up here to window, find stroke, and put a check mark by it, and it'll open up your stroke window. We want our caps and corners to be rounded. So I'm going to hit the middle option right here. And you see what it did? It took that sharp point away from this petal. I guess you would call it a petal, or this individual piece of wheat, if it's in fact a wheat wreath. So we're going to go ahead and, so what I would then do at this point is, just to make my editing as simple as possible, is go ahead and is copy this. And a fast way to copy, instead of hitting Control C and Control V, is hold down your Alt key and just click and drag, and that creates another copy of what you're clicking and dragging. And then you can go ahead. You can see it's not perfectly in rotation with where it needs to be, but you can just position your mouse over the corner of this, and you can rotate that one piece however you need it to be. And you can resize it accordingly. Like this one looks a little smaller right here, so I'm going to hit Alt. And I'm going to go ahead and position that right where it needs to be. And yeah, that's a little too big. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to hit Shift, and I'm going to scale it down. And again, put it where I want it. So you get the idea. And then what I would do is I would go ahead and I would go up and do that all the way up. Here's a little bit different one. So you're going to have to do a little bit of artwork to create this piece up here. And then you're going to have to create one of these and then duplicate it as you come all the way down this line. And then you have one individual piece of artwork down here you would have to create. Very easy. It's just the same way we've been doing it with the stroke. And then once we have one side completed, all this, say this right side, it's just a matter of grouping them all. And in this case, it would be, we're going to hold down and we're just going to select them all with Shift and the mouse button. And then we're going to hit Control G on the keyboard. And I think in Vectric, it's just, what is it? I think it's just G, but it's Control G in Adobe Illustrator. And then we'll go ahead and we're going to hit Control C, Shift Control V to paste in place. I'm going to transform, reflect on the vertical axis. Okay. And you can see what it did. It created a copy of what we created over here. And had we created all these, we could select them all and copy them and flip them to the other side to maintain our symmetry in this design. So it's very easy. And once you start working with Adobe Illustrator, you're going to find that this becomes easier and easier. Now, the text is a different animal, but it's very simple. And a lot of the things you just need to know about text is what type of font is it, and that in and of itself is an art. Knowing by looking at a type of text and knowing sans serif and slab serif and that sort of thing. I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but I'm getting the hang of that. The more I look at these letters and the designs of these letters, I'm starting to understand what font families are what. And if you're a novice at fonts, it's just a matter of maybe typing some of this stuff out and going through your fonts and seeing what matches to the design on the patch. And that's what I did. I still do that quite a bit. And for all intents and purposes, we're going to go ahead and abbreviate the demo. And I'm going to show you how we create text on a path in Adobe Illustrator. And it's right under here under the text tool. It's, well, we got to create a path first. I apologize. Let's create our path, and our path is going to be nothing more than a line. So I'm going to come over right about here. And I'm just going to create nothing more than a path for this text to follow. And I'm going to hit my escape. So you see what I've done is I've created a line. So let's go over here and let's go ahead and grab our type on a path tool. And we're just going to click on that path where we want it to start. Now I know this police text is something called source sans variable, and you should have it on your machine. I think that's a pretty common font if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to type in caps, O-L-I-C-E. And I'm going to select it. And the next thing I'm going to do is increase the font size. And I'm going to come down here where I'm on my character panel right here. I'm going to increase the font size. And this font isn't exact, but it'll do. And I'm going to explain some nuances here that if you don't see them already, I'm going to show you how to fix that too. So this is whoops, that's not mirror. It's not what we want. We want, what did we say? Source sans variable. So let's go here and hit source sans. No, it's not source sans variable. That's source serif variable. We want source sans variable. There we go. And we want bold, we want semi-bold. Semi-bold looks the best for this. It's going to match closest. And what we want to do is come over here and grab our selection tool. Let's move this all the way over to the right. And go ahead. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. These are just these little drag tools that you can use to move this text around. Come on. Why is that not? No. This just doesn't want to cooperate with me tonight. I can't get it over there to the left for y'all. Let's see. Let's try this again. All right. Abandon this because I really want to get. I want to show you this stuff because this was the purpose of tonight's stream. And it just so happens that it's not cooperating with me. And I don't know if that was because I lost all my settings when I came over here and transferred it to this side of the computer monitor and brought it up live to share it with you. But we're going to go ahead and do it one more time, and hopefully this will get it working. Actually, let's go down here and create the text for Abilene and see if that works. And again, we're just creating a path here with our curvature tool. And you can see it's got a fill applied to it. We don't want the fill. We're just going to come over here and have a stroke instead. And the Abilene, Texas Tech is different. It's a different font. Let's go ahead and hit type on a path. And let's try this one more time here. I'm going to click Abilene, capitals. Yeah, for some reason, this is just not cooperating with me. Well, we can do it this way. Start a little. Start a little bit higher this time. All right. And we'll swap the fill with the stroke so we have a line. And let's try this one more time before I abandon this. This font is called Ophelia Text Semi-Bold. So let's go ahead and select this text. And we're going to look for it. It's Ophelia Text Semi-Bold. And we want the size to come down to match what's on the screen. Come up over here and use our selection tool. And hopefully we'll get it this time. Whoops. All right, we got it lined up. Now we can come over here to our paragraph text. open up character styles. No, not that. Again, guys, I apologize. All these things were open before, and when I switched over and brought this stuff over to the other screen to demo it, my whole layout just got wiped out. So I'm going to have to get that in order. I wasn't prepared for that happening. And again, I apologize. We're live, and of course, the devil makes his appearance on these things and puts his little fingers and stuff and just totally screws things up for you. So let's go to that type. I think it's character. No, it's not that. I can't find it. Anyway. We're going to find it. I'm bound and determined. Okay. No. Okay, we're going to abandon this. This is just taking up too much dead air time, and I don't want to do that to you guys. I want this to be as productive as possible. And this is something that I plan on continuing on my channel, is going into more Adobe Illustrator stuff because it does weigh heavy onto what I do on in the creation of my work. And for example, I mean, and I'll show you. Let me go back up to I'm going to show you a number of graphics that I've done and that I've put on my website. They're actually for sale. They're $5.50 a piece. So if these are something that you guys wanted to just download and play around with and cut them on your CNC, integrate them into some sort of project, you can certainly do that. You're welcome to it. Again, this is the main page of my website. And if you go over here, this is where my clients can buy flags. But over here where it says badge and patch graphics, if you just click on that, it brings up a number of stuff that I've designed using Adobe Illustrator. And here is that Abilene, up in here in the upper left, is that Abilene, Texas police patch. And that's kind of what I wanted to achieve tonight. But like I said, it just didn't work out for some reason. I don't know what's going on with my Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to have to get that all situated and back in line before I can even edit with it. So it got screwed up somehow, and I wasn't prepared for that tonight. But that is what this patch would look like in a clean format. And let's go ahead, and I've got a number of them on the site. You can see there's Dallas, District of Columbia Metro Police. There's a lot of Arizona stuff because that's where I'm originally from. And then I've got some unique designs in there, U.S. Marshals in there. So anyway, let's get out of this. And let's get back to VCarve, because that's what I wanted to do tonight, was to show you VCarve. And this should look familiar to you. For those of you that were with me 2 weeks ago, this is the flag that we designed. And again, all we did is we created the stars and the stripes. So we've got this, say we've got this Abilene, Texas patch that we want to bring in here. So in order to do that, what we need to do is import some vectors, which is just that check, or that little file folder up there under file operations. And it's on my desktop. And it's the Abilene Police, not the badge, Abilene, Texas Police patch. I do have a badge for them too. And that was, I don't know if you saw that, that was right next to the patch. So this is what we want. It's Vectric plays well with Adobe Illustrator files and also EPS files. So if you have any one of those two combinations, you can import those as a vector file. So we're just going to click open. Now it comes in ungrouped, so we want to group everything together so we maintain our elements. So we're just going to hit G on our keyboard, and we're going to come over here with our mouse, and we're going to select it, and we're just going to position it where we want it. And if you noticed on my flags, I like to put my graphics over here on the right, and most flag builders that create the police flags will also do the same thing. I've seen some of them, they'll reduce the size of the graphics and put them up in the stars. But I like to go ahead and put them over here on this right side of the flag. I think it looks pretty cool. So I'm going to click off of that for a second. I'm going to make sure all my stripes are grouped together, and they're not. So we're going to hit, and I can tell they're not because they're a dashed line and not a solid line. So we're going to hit G on our keyboard. Now every stripe on this flag is grouped, and we're going to use that to center this patch on the flag. So let's go ahead and select this patch first. You always select what you want to align first, and then the second thing you select is what you want to align to. So we're going to hold shift and then select our stripes. And then if we come to our align function, all we have to do is come to and hit align to selection right here vertically. And you can see what that did is it shifted that design up to where it's perfectly in line on the horizontal plane. Now, wherever we want it, it's up to us. We can move it left to right with our keyboard arrows, and I like to keep it over on the right side. So I have, if somebody wants to have something engraved on this blue line, it gives us plenty of real estate to use to put what we want on there. A lot of people will want their names or the name of a loved one or something like that, or retirement dates, things to that effect. So that's what we would engrave on there. And then now we'll go ahead and we'll slide over a little bit, and we're going to select this design. And a fast way to do this is we're just going to go ahead and unselect everything. Again, we've got it where we want it, so I'm not too worried about it. But just in case something goes afoul, I'm going to hit Control-C on the keyboard and just keep one copy of this patch in the background on the clipboard. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to hit Ungroup. And then I'm just going to go ahead and select this outside vector. Whoops. Just this outside vector right here. So this whole thing is ungrouped right now. And we want this outside vector only. Let's close the alignment. We don't need that anymore. And we're going to go ahead and create an offset from this. And it's already pre-populated with what I want because this is a measurement that I use quite often, 1/8 of an inch, 0.125. And I want that offset vector to be outwards. And I don't want to delete anything. I want to leave everything just the way it is. So let's create an offset. You see what it did? Is it created an offset right here. So let's go ahead and select this offset. Oops, excuse me. Select our stripes first, and then we're going to use a trim function. Our stripes are selected, and then we're trimming to, we're selecting that second, we're trimming to this offset that we just created. And there's our trim function. So we're going to select trim, and we're going to clear inside the boundary because we want everything inside this boundary gone. So let's hit clear. And you can see what it did. It took those horizontal lines, those stripes, away from inside our design. So that leaves this line on the outside. We don't need that anymore. We can just simply hit delete on our keyboard. And we've got our Abilene police patch now on integrated into this American flag. And you can see what it does as far as our stripes, what we've designated, what we're going to designate to be carved out. They come up right to the stripe or to the patch, and they won't interfere with our design at all because we've taken that out of there. So that is how you bring in a patch, and how you use the offset function, and how you use the trim function within Vectric to go around your design and get it where you want it and get it perfect. So I'm going to close this trim objects. We don't need that anymore. And what I would just show you how I would put text in there is just like if somebody wanted something like officer, oops, say his name is James Smith. Most of them will do like December 1995 to October 2022. Okay. Say that's the text that they wanted. Okay. And what we're going to do is just select it. We'll drag it over here where we want it. Now, what I typically will do is just to make sure that that text is centered in this stripe, in this blue line right here, is I will go ahead and create a rectangle, and I'll just come down here and just create a simple rectangle right here, because I can't do it with the stripe. I mean, I could ungroup all the stripes, just select that one cutout right here, but that's too much work. Why go through all that? So I just create another rectangle just for alignment purposes. Makes it really quick and easy. And I'm going to select my text, come over here, hit shift to hold, and then select the rectangle that we just created, come back up to our alignment tool, and then align to selection horizontally and vertically. And you can see what it does is it just puts it right where we want it. And then we'll go ahead and get rid of that rectangle. We don't need it anymore. So essentially that is the design of a public safety flag, and be it a police flag, a fireman's flag. You could do this with a fireman's badge or a fireman's patch, or anything, virtually anything. You could even use a corporate logo. It doesn't have to be public safety related. You could put a Harley Davidson logo in there the same way, or anything. You know, if somebody works for a company and they're proud of where they work, or they're giving a gift to somebody, same thing goes. It's all done the same procedures, same way. So with that, let's go back and run through some of the comments to this point and see what you guys have to say. I know I moved through some of this stuff kind of fast. If I did, I apologize. Again, I do apologize for Illustrator doing some funky things that I wasn't ready for tonight. Let's see what we've got here. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Mark says, I was freezing intermittently, but I was able to follow what I was saying. Okay, well, maybe the fact that I was freezing quite a bit will cover some of the errors that I was having. Hey, Rob, how are you doing? Rob Sandstrom Designs. Let's see. Blair, good to see you here. Mark says, Murphy's Law of live streaming #1. If you're going to have a problem, it will be while you're alive. Yes, sir, that is true. And as I found out tonight. Does anybody have questions about what we've covered tonight? Or is it pretty self-explanatory? To like Mark, Vectric software, the guy knows so much, he's forgotten more than most of us will ever know. And when I've asked him some questions about stuff, and I equate that to like Adobe Illustrator. I've been using this for so many years, approximately 7-8 years, and I've gotten to know it quite well. I should have known the layouts and how to bring that stuff back. But I guess it's the spontaneity and being live that kind of catches you off guard and you're not prepared for it. But I know that there's stuff in there that I've done, probably gone over too fast that you're scratching your head at, or maybe it's like, well, why did he do it this way? Or isn't there an easier way to do it? And if you've got those questions, please let me know. Let's see. Mark says, what you say in Illustrator, you set the path of the patch border to 13. When you imported it into VCarve, it imported it 2 vectors around the border. How did you do that? Good point, Mark. Let me show you that, because that was one of the things that I wanted to show you in the design, and it did get me jumbled. So let's go back up to here. And if I click on this, our creation that is all jazzed up, but if I click on that one path, or as Vectric likes to call it, a vector, again, they're the same thing. And if we click on that, there's a neat little thing that we can do to create the outside and inside boundaries of that. And if we just go up here to Object, click on Object at the top, and then we come down to Path, and then we go to Outline Stroke. And then what that does is that creates a border on the outside and inside. So what I like to do is I like to prepare my designs. When I showed them on the website, they're all filled in black, and that's just for sales purposes. So if somebody wants to buy a vector design from me, they see what they're getting, and they're more or less designed for not only CNC work, but also like Cricut cutters and vinyl cutters and things like that. So, because I offer SVG files in addition to AI files and a few other file types. So that's why they're black. But what I like to do is go ahead and make them just the stroke showing and not the fill. And then what I'll typically do on all my designs is I'll even take that stroke and I will make it 0.25 of a point. I will get it pretty fine throughout the whole design. And then when I go ahead and I hide the artwork layer below, you get an idea as to what your design looks like so far. So I know that'll answer your question, Mark. Let's see. John, I am looking into a used Axiom machine. All it comes with is VCarvePro. What else would I need to run the machine? Well, all you need, John, is VCarvePro. You don't need anything else. It's not a type of, I have an Axiom, and in fact, I may be selling that because I'm finding myself using my Avid CNC exclusively. About the only thing I use my Avid for is it's got a laser on it. It's got a JTech laser, or excuse me, the only thing I'm using my Axiom for is for laser operations now, because it's got a JTech laser on it. And what my objective is to sell my Axiom CNC and get a standalone laser that I can use in conjunction with my Avid CNC. So side note, if you're interested, if anybody's interested in a used Axiom CNC, it's a great machine. It served me well for several years before I felt that I needed to jump up into a bigger table size. So it's going to be something that I'm looking at transferring to a new owner here in the near future, to mid to near future. I've got some other stuff going on right now. I can't really concentrate on selling it. Let's see. So yeah, it comes with VCarvePro. What else would I need to run the machine? Nothing, because that machine uses a pendant. And to run those file operations on the Axiom, it's all handled on the Pentium, and you run them one file at a time. It doesn't. You're not using Mach 3 or Mach 4 or any other machine. What's the terminology that I'm looking for? Help me out, guys. To actually run the files, where like on the Avid, you use the Mach 4 to position your XY coordinates, and you load in everything that you've created in VCarve into Mach, and then you have run your tool paths, and you do all your editing on the fly right in Mach. Where on the Axiom machines, it's all done file by file on the pendant, and you're running them the way you establish it in VCarvePro. So for a new user or somebody that is just jumping into CNC, the pendants work great. They're non-complicated, and they're very simple to use, in my opinion. I'm not sharing. Oh, did I not share? Guys, this is my second stream, so please forgive me. I'm going to screw up. Let's see here. So stop screen. Let me get rid of that. I'm thinking you guys were talking about share screen. There we go. Share. Yeah. Probably, let's see if this is the one. There we go. Let me get rid of that. You guys know we're live. So what I was getting at right here is these lines right here. Let me go step back a few steps. There we go. Because that's where we were. You guys can see it. So we had a fill right here. So we're just going to go up to, oops, one more time. This is what we started off with. We had one thick stroke that was 13 points in width. So again, let me redo this now that we're sharing the screen. Thank you for pointing that out to me. There were several of you. We're going to go up to Object, Path, because that's a path. And then we're going to hit Outline Stroke. We're just going to come over to Outline Stroke. And then what that does is that provides that inner border and outer border. It outlines that stroke. So then what I do with all my designs is I go ahead and I'll swap the fill color and the stroke colors. So only the stroke color on the inner and outer side of that is showing. And I'll drop that weight down of those strokes down to about 0.25. And I'll do that for everything. You know, even the text, I'll convert that to outlines, type, create outlines. So that makes that to where we can edit it or not edit it anymore. And we can just go ahead and play with the stroke just like we did with the outer boundary. So we would just come over here again, same thing, swap the fill and the stroke and drop that down to 0.25. And you can kind of see if I make the visibility of that original artwork on, what that does. And again, I'll reinforce that because we weren't sharing and maybe it was hard to follow. I keep the black on just for the my sales purposes, and so clients can see what I offer them. But for CNC and Cricut machines, it's the color of the fill is irrelevant. It's just looking at the path and these vectors. It just needs to know what to cut out. And in the case of a CNC machine, if you're running a pocket toolpath and you decide to pocket this border out with, say, an 1/8 inch end mill, it just needs to know the border to stick within. And the same thing with the VCarve. If you choose to use a V-bit, like a 90-degree V-bit or a 120-degree V-bit, I would recommend something to that size. And we'll get more into the bits used to create a flag like this in the next episode. But all a V-bit needs to do, or needs to know, or Vectric needs to know, is what are the outer path and what's the inner path, to where the boundaries of that V-bit are to go between and what to follow. So I hope that makes sense. That should make sense. Let's go back up to some comments and see where we left off. Let's see. You're not sharing share screen. Okay. Yeah, CAM software. That's the words I was talking to. The pendant is it has the built-in CAM software. So yeah. And let's see, Mark says, perfect. That slick beats the heck out of tracing a bitmap. Yeah, it makes it a lot easier, Mark. And as you know, and as any of you are familiar with the Vectric, to try to use the bitmap trace function, it sometimes creates a mess of your artwork, and you have so many points that show up on there that you have to edit and delete and create the harder points into the softer ones to make it look right. And this is so much easier. Let's see. The pendant has Mark says the pendant has a built-in controller software. VCarvePro is the CAD CAM. Yeah. So that's, yeah, my pendant. It was just a matter of loading the files that VCarve created and running them. The pendant had some restrictions, though. I couldn't name I can't name files with more than 6 characters. So you're really restricted on how your naming conventions for how you name your files that you run. And also pendants don't allow you, at least my machine, you have to run the files one at a time. Unlike Avid CNC, they allow you to combine all your tool paths into one G-code file. And if you elect to, you load that one G-code file into mock, and you can hit cycle start, and then it'll systematically run through your G-code. And then when you get to the next tool path, it'll tell you, okay, it's time to change tools. So you go ahead and go to your manual tool change locations, swap out for your new tool, go down, use your Z-axis, your Z0 puck, and come down and re-zero your Z-axis, and then run your next tool path. So that's the difference. Let's see. Mark, I'm going to have to dig into Inkscape and see if I can do something similar, at least until I decide to pull the trigger on Illustrator. Yeah, I don't know what the price is on Illustrator now. I've got the whole suite. I use Adobe Illustrator. I use Adobe's video editing software. I use Photoshop for my photos. It's got some other stuff that I use for formatting audio files. And I think I pay around $52 a month. And I know to some of you that might sound like a lot, but hey, if you use it for work, and this is my work, it's tax deductible. So it helps. Every little bit helps, right? So yeah. And then let's see, what else can I tell you? Inkscape. I don't have a lot of experience with Inkscape. I don't know what the learning curve is on that. I know it is, what do they call that when it's software that it's built by, assembled by a group of people, and they all contribute to the creation of it. And it's constantly being revised and upgraded. It's pretty powerful from what I understand, but I don't know what the learning curve is on it. But think about trying Illustrator out, Mark, on a trial basis. I know they offer a 30-day try it for nothing. And if you don't like it, you don't have to use it. But if you find it's something that you do like, then you can elect to go for it. Open source. Thank you, Brandon, for that. Yes. Inkscape is open source. And I think Vector, as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, VECTR is how it's spelled, is also open source software. John says, I use EngraveLab Pro for your CNC plasma. John, can you tell us if that would work for the CNC machine, or is that strictly plasma software? Or is it basically vector-based software that would work for this as well? That would be interesting to know. Mark researched it. Illustrator by itself is $21 per month. The Creative Suite is $54. Yeah. Okay, $21 per month. That's a lot more affordable than $54 if all you're looking for is a basic set. So yeah, that works good. It works good for me. And so if you're happy with it and it works for you, go with it. John says works for lasers or laser and engravers. So yeah, I would be curious if it works for CNC. If it's, I don't know. I don't know that much about it, if it or how that would integrate with a CNC machine. I know a lot of the software that works for a CNC machine will also work with vinyl cutters, if I'm not mistaken. And I use the software that I use for the CNC for VCarve. I use that for my laser. So let's see, anything else here? Well, guys, we are running on, let's see, what time is it? It is 8:12. Well, it's been a fast hour. We're actually an hour and 12 minutes right now. I don't want to bore you guys with too much information or start touching on areas that are outside of where I wanted to go tonight. Just remember that next live stream, we're going to be going over tool pathing this bad boy, this flag that we've created with the patch in it. And I may have another flag to demonstrate, maybe one with a few more tool paths in it that we can play with. And I'm going to take a deep dive into what bits to use and what bits work best for creating these flags. You may have your favorite bits. I'm going to show you what I use and what works for me. And yeah. So that's the conclusion of the demonstration. Thank you, Brandon, for that compliment. It's been very informative, aside from freezing here and there, and my Adobe Illustrator cutting or doing some weird stuff like I explained. John says, any videos on your new CNC router? Well, my new CNC router is the Avid. I have a whole 3-part series of me assembling the Avid CNC. And then I have a video in there of me attaching some lighting on the underside of the gantry. I've got a few other videos in there, I believe, with me doing some stuff on the Avid CNC. And then I've got some stuff in the beginning when I started this channel of me using the Axiom that I still have. Let's see. Yeah. Mark, he's got a bunch, John. That's how Russ and I met. Yeah, we did. Let's see. John, you're welcome. No problem there. Let's see. I guess that's it on the questions, at least that I can tell. So we'll go ahead. Oh, what size is the Axiom? John, the Axiom machine is a 2 feet wide by 3 foot deep. So it's 24 inches by 36 inches is the working area. And I need, like I said earlier in the video, I needed something a little bit bigger to accomplish some of the work that I did. So I had to jump up to a 4 foot by 4 foot to accomplish what I needed. So my Avid's a 4 foot by 4 foot, but the Axiom worked for me in the beginning on making flags. I just had to turn my flags sideways and cut them that way. They were, but it still worked perfect, and it still does. It's everything about it. It works great. I just have 2 machines, and I only use one. So we all know how valuable shop space is. So I'd like to clear that shop space out and get a standalone laser and put this Axiom machine in the hands of somebody that could really use it. Maybe a new person that wants to get into CNC. It's the perfect machine for that. If you're interested in it, hit me up in my contact form on my website, and I'll get that information to you in a second in the video. Yeah, on my contact page, just send me some notice and we can talk about that. So let's see, what's this thing? Shop space. Mark's asking, what is this thing called shop space of which you speak? Yeah, that's kind of, I don't have any. So that's what, and I don't think you do either, judging by the videos that you're putting out there and what I'm seeing in your background. I don't think any of us have the desired amount of shop space. But you know what, on the subject of shop space, and I was going to do a video on this as well. There is a point of having just the right amount. Not enough shop space is a problem. Just the right amount is perfect. And then having too much shop space is a problem, because if you have too much space, you find yourself taking too many steps in your shop to go to get your tasks done, and you waste a lot of time going from point A to point B. So the smaller, or the perfect size shop is ideal, to where you can eliminate a lot of your steps and accomplish your tasks and have everything right where you need it. So Blaine, you're welcome. Yep, there'll be more Q&As in the future, and I can do a shop tour without moving the camera. Yes, Mark, I know. Let's see. Well, I guess we'll call it a night. We are coming up on probably an hour and, let's see here. Yeah, an hour and 20 minutes. So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and end the chat now, or end the comments now, rather. If you're not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to the channel, and that'll help me out a lot. And don't forget to hit like for the video, and also don't forget to hit the little bell icon as well, to be notified when I post new content. That way you won't miss any of the live streams or any of the videos when I'm able to put them out. Unfortunately, they're not as frequently as I want them to be, but when I do put them out, if you hit that bell icon, you'll be notified. You can find them also available on social media. You can catch me at Blue Line Wood Flags on Facebook and Instagram. And again, my website, if you want to contact me regarding the Axiom machine, purchase any of the flags, or purchase any of the graphics that I have up there, and play around with some of those. Again, those graphics are dirt cheap. You're probably not going to find them anywhere else on the web at that low cost, $5.50 a piece. Again, that's www.bluelinewoodflags.com. So yeah, so with that, I think we'll go ahead and end the stream. And until the next one, you guys have a great night, and cheers.